I used to believe that kindness was infinite and that saying no was a moral failure. Let me tell you how a neighbor who borrowed my life piece by piece, a therapist who finally asked me what I wanted instead of what I owed, and the specific collapse of my own body taught me that boundaries are not walls against love. They are the foundation that love actually requires. That a kindness without limits is not kindness at all, but a slow erasure dressed in the costume of virtue. My name is Amara. I'm 36 years old. I spent 30 years being the most helpful person in every room, the most available friend, the most accommodating colleague, the most understanding partner, the most forgiving daughter. I was exhausted, resentful, and utterly convinced that my exhaustion was proof of my goodness. The old me was a resource. That was how I understood myself. That was how others understood me too, though I pretended not to notice the difference. I grew up in a house where love was earned through service. My mother was ill, chronically, invisibly, the kind of illness that required constant management without ever quite qualifying as emergency. My father was absent in his presence, physically there but emotionally evacuated, leaving the emotional labor to whoever was willing to carry it. I was willing. I was always willing. I learned to anticipate needs before they were spoken, to manage moods before they darkened, to become so helpful that my absence would be felt as catastrophe, ensuring that I would never be abandoned because I was too essential to lose. This was not kindness. This was survival strategy, dressed in the language of care. I was not giving freely. I was purchasing safety with every favor, every sacrifice, every boundary I dissolved before it could be challenged. I brought this architecture into adulthood, into friendships where I was always available, always understanding, always the one who adjusted, who compromised, who absorbed the cost of friction so that others never had to experience it. Into workplaces where I took on projects that weren't mine, covered for colleagues who never reciprocated, accepted credit theft and idea appropriation with a smile that said, "I don't mind," while my mind screamed. Into relationships where I became whatever my partner needed, shape-shifting, preference erasing, the cool girl who didn't need commitment, the understanding girlfriend who didn't mind canceled plans, the supportive wife who managed everything so he never had to feel inconvenience. I told myself this was love, this was generosity, this was the higher path, the spiritual choice, the evidence of my evolved nature. What it was erasure, the slow, polite, socially approved disappearance of a person who had never been allowed to exist as herself. The neighbor was named Patricia. She moved in 3 years ago, adjacent to the house I had bought with money I earned working 3 jobs I never complained about. She needed things, constantly, specifically, with the confidence of someone who had learned that the world would provide. Borrow my ladder, borrow my car, borrow my time to watch her children when her sitter canceled, which was often, which was predictable, which I always accommodated because saying no felt like violence against the person I had constructed myself to be. "You're a lifesaver," she would say. Never with reciprocation, never with the question of what I might need, just the extraction, the gratitude that cost her nothing, the continued assumption that my availability was permanent and infinite. I gave her my ladder. She returned it broken, without mention, without repair, without the slightest acknowledgement that my property had been damaged in service to her convenience. I gave her my car. She returned it empty of gas, smelling of smoke, with a dent she never explained, and I never asked about because asking would require confrontation, and confrontation was not in my vocabulary. I gave her my time, my evenings, my weekends, the precious hours I might have spent on myself, resting, creating, simply being, given away to her emergencies, her needs, her life that somehow always took precedence over mine. I told myself this was community, neighborliness, the village we were supposed to be. What it was theft. Polite, smiling, socially invisible theft. And I was complicit because I had taught everyone, that I could be taken from without consequence. The workplace was worse because it was rewarded. I worked in nonprofit administration, helping people, the mission statement said, and I did help clients, communities, the vulnerable populations we served. But I also helped everyone in the office, covered when they were overwhelmed, which was always, took on projects that weren't mine when they were struggling, which was perpetual, accepted the promotion that went to someone less qualified because I was too essential in my current role to be moved upward. My boss, Richard, knew me, understood me, exploited me with the precision of someone who had learned to recognize the useful from the merely competent. "Amara, you're a team player," he would say, loading me with another department's work. "We all know we're all in this together." We were not all in this together. I was in it alone, carrying weight that others dropped while they advanced, rested, lived lives that included boundaries I had never learned to construct. I got sick. Not dramatically, just gradually. The exhaustion that became chronic, the headaches that became constant, the specific collapse of a body that had been running on fumes for decades, finally discovering that fumes were not fuel. I went to a doctor, then another, then a specialist who looked at my tests, my history, my life, and asked the question no one had ever asked me. What do you want? Not what do I need medically, not what do I owe professionally, not what can I give, provide, accommodate, absorb. What do I want? I couldn't answer. I wept in the examination room, the tears of someone who had spent a lifetime anticipating others' needs and had never developed the muscle for identifying her own. The therapist was named Dr. Yuki Tanaka. She was small, direct, allergic to the language of victimhood that I had learned to perform. "You are not kind," she said, session 3, after I had explained my exhaustion, my resentment, my confusion about why my generosity had not been reciprocated. "I am," I insisted. "I give everything. I never say no. I am always there." "You are not kind. You are afraid. You give not from abundance, but from terror. You are purchasing safety with every favor, and you are bankrupting yourself in the process. That is not kindness. That is transaction without price tags, and you are always, always underpaid." She taught me the difference, not through lecture, through practice, through the specific, terrifying exercise of identifying what I wanted before I offered what others asked for. The homework was brutal. Before every interaction, every request, every moment where I would automatically accommodate, I had to pause, breathe, ask, what do I want? What do I need? What will this cost me, and am I willing to pay it? I failed constantly. The muscle was atrophied. I would realize hours after an interaction that I had automatically agreed to something I didn't want to do, had given something I couldn't afford to lose, had erased myself again in the familiar pattern that felt like virtue but functioned as self-destruction. But I practiced, with Patricia first, the smallest boundary, the most terrifying confrontation. She asked to borrow my car again. I had prepared. I had rehearsed. I knew what I wanted: to keep my car, my property, my boundary intact. "I can't," I said. The words foreign, heavy, terrifying. She blinked, the expression of someone encountering an unexpected wall in a landscape they had always navigated freely. Why not? Not accusatory, just surprised, confused. The confusion of someone who had never been told no because I had never learned to say it. Because I need it. Because I don't want to lend it. Because my answer is no. The silence was immense. It contained decades of my automatic yes, my eager accommodation, my erasure dressed as generosity. "That's not very neighborly," she said finally. "No," I agreed. "It's not, but it's honest, and I'm learning that honesty matters more than performance." She left, angry, I think, disappointed, surprised to discover that I was a person with limits rather than a resource without them. We did not speak again. The loss was smaller than I expected. The relief was larger than I imagined. The workplace was harder. Richard did not accept boundaries with neighborly confusion. He attacked them with managerial authority. "Amara, this project needs you. The team depends on your willingness to step up." "I can't," I said. The words still foreign, still heavy, but gaining weight with practice. "This is how you advance." The carrot offered to someone who had always responded to carrots. Team players get promoted. People who only look out for themselves don't go far here. I have been a team player for 15 years. I have advanced nowhere. I have only accumulated more work, more responsibility, more exhaustion. I am done purchasing safety with my health. My answer is no. He was furious. The fury of someone encountering a resource that had suddenly developed self-interest. He found ways to punish me. Exclusion from projects I wanted, criticism in reviews that had previously praised my team spirit, the slow, grinding retaliation of someone who had lost control of a tool he never respected as a person. I found another job, not immediately, carefully, with boundaries intact, with requirements stated, with the specific condition that I would not be exploited and would leave if I was. The new workplace was different, not perfect, but different. Because I was different, because I arrived with my backbone visible, with my limits stated, with the understanding that I was a person rather than a resource, and would be treated accordingly. The relationships transformed most painfully. I had a friend, Elena, who had known me since college. We had been close, I thought. In retrospect, we had been close because I had been available, because I had absorbed her drama, her crises, her perpetual emergencies without requiring reciprocation, without ever mentioning my own needs, my own struggles, my own life that was collapsing under the weight of my generosity. I set a boundary, asked her to listen, for once, to my experience, to witness my struggles with the same intensity I had always witnessed hers. She couldn't. The friendship, I discovered, had been built on my invisibility, on my function as audience, support, resource. Without that function, she had no interest in my personhood. The loss was devastating, not because the friendship was valuable, but because it revealed the architecture of my relationships, built on my erasure, dependent on my accommodation, unable to survive my presence as a person with needs. But other relationships deepened. A colleague who had always seemed distant revealed herself as respectful, waiting for me to become visible before engaging. A cousin I had rarely spoken to became close when I stopped performing and started sharing honestly. My sister, who had watched my erasure with pain she had never expressed, finally found the sister she had been waiting for, present, honest, mutual. I learned that boundaries do not destroy connection, they reveal it. They separate the relationships built on exploitation from the relationships built on mutual respect. They are not walls against love, but the foundation that allows love to be real. I am different now, not cured, not perfectly bounded, but practicing. I say no, regularly, intentionally, without the apology that used to accompany every refusal. I say yes, too, but to things I genuinely want, genuinely choose, genuinely have the resources to offer without self-destruction. I am kind, truly kind, I believe, not the performance of kindness that purchased safety, but the genuine generosity that flows from abundance rather than fear. I give when I can. I help when it costs me nothing I cannot afford. I am present for people who are present for me. Patricia moved away. I don't know where. Richard was eventually fired for his treatment of other employees, the pattern that I had normalized finally recognized as abuse. Elena and I do not speak. The losses remain, but they are smaller than the gains. The self I have discovered, the relationships that are real, the specific piece of being a person rather than a resource. The lesson, if you need it: you are not kind. Not if your kindness is exhaustion, resentment, erasure dressed in the costume of virtue. Not if your generosity leaves you empty, your accommodation leaves you invisible, your forgiveness leaves you exploited. Kindness without boundaries is not kindness. It is self-destruction performed for an audience that does not applaud, that often does not even notice, that has learned to take your offerings as their due. The boundary is not cruelty. The no is not violence. The limit is not lack of love. It is the preservation of the self that must exist in order for love to be possible. Practice saying no to small things first, to the borrowed ladder, the extra project, the assumption that your time is less valuable than others. Practice until the muscle develops. Practice until you can say no to larger things, to relationships built on extraction, to the entire architecture of your erasure. You will lose people, this is the cost, but you will gain yourself and the relationships that remain, that deepen, that are built on your visible, bounded, honest personhood. These are the only relationships that were ever real. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot hold others upright when you have given away your own backbone. You cannot love others fully when you have never learned to love yourself enough to protect your own existence. I'm Amara. I was the most helpful person in every room. I became the most present person in my own life. I am finally learning that my no is as valuable as my yes, that my boundaries are as generous as my gifts, and that the kindness I offer from wholeness is the only kindness that matters.